The industry is a mess right now. Let's just be real about it. It is packed with people who are more interested in clout chasing and pleasing gatekeepers than standing on real talent. I am talking about rappers who are literally paying DJs just to get their songs played, throwing money at executives, and doing whatever it takes to get noticed, even if it means losing their integrity. That kind of behavior is everywhere now, and it is ruining the game. If anyone has a problem with what I am saying, then step up. I am not backing down. Say what you want, but this new wave of artists is more about politics and less about passion, and that is the problem. You feel me? Just let me be who I truly am. Let me create and share my music the way it is meant to be heard. That is all I ever wanted. But now it feels like they expect you to play politics, go out to dinners, build fake relationships, trade favors just to get a shot. That is not me. That is not how I move. Here is how I see it. I bring the music, you handle the business, cut the check. Simple as that. Honestly, most of the love I had for being part of this industry has faded. I do not even consider myself part of it anymore. I am not one of those industry-made artists. I am a real artist who just happens to exist within the industry, and there is a big difference. Take that, something a guy might say to a girl, but in this case, it's deeper. DMX had been sounding alarms about Diddy and the music business for years. Most people didn't listen or take him seriously, but 50 Cent was paying close attention. DMX never shied away from exposing the dark, ruthless side of the industry. He once said it's full of people willing to do whatever it takes to climb the ladder, selling out, sucking up, bending over backwards, anything for the win. He wasn't just talking to hear himself talk. DMX said he came face to face with the devil in this business. That's why he knew God was real, because battling that kind of evil requires more than just strength. It demands faith. He made it clear. He wasn't part of the industry system, he was in it, but he didn't belong to it. That's why no one could control him. He refused to play by their rules. So what happened? They sold off a company right under him. They invited him in, only to flip the whole thing. Of course he's angry. Who wouldn't be? He felt betrayed, but at the end of the day, it's business, and he's going to treat it like business. Still, his music? That's his life. If you mess with his music, you're messing with him. And messing with him? That's a mistake. Things are definitely shifting now. They brought in a whole new team, so he's got to step in and see how it plays out. You know what I mean. Now fast forward, and the truth about Diddy is finally coming out. Things way darker than most of us ever imagined. Suddenly, all those so-called wild claims DMX made don't sound so far-fetched anymore. In fact, DMX once turned down deals with Diddy because something just didn't sit right with him. At one time, Diddy had actually passed on signing DMX. But then, when he caught wind that Def Jam was about to offer DMX a major contract, suddenly Diddy wanted back in the game and tried to double the offer to win him over. But X wasn't buying it. He'd already heard the stories behind the scenes at Bad Boy Records, and he wasn't blind to the politics going on. One thing X respected about Puff, though, was that he at least had the guts to be upfront. Puff told him straight to his face, "Nah, your voice is too rough. You're not marketable." But just a few weeks later, when Puff found out X was about to sign elsewhere, he came back with, "Yo, I'll line your pockets. I'll double their offer." And X was like, "If you didn't." But he knew better than to trust it. They just looked at it and thought, "Nah, I don't want all the drama that comes with this." M stumbled on it, but he didn't fully realize the trouble tied to it. You get what I'm saying? So I was like, no, this is perfect. Some folks say when DMX talked about Diddy ripping off his artists, he only meant the financial side, like stealing money. But now, with everything coming to light, people are wondering if he meant exactly what he said. DMX warned us about Diddy. He was known for calling out just how twisted the industry really is. He said the music business would rather see people dead because they make more money off you when you're gone than when you're alive. One thing that stuck with me was when DMX said he never saw Biggie smile until after he died. He explained that a true smile shows up in your eyes, and Biggie never had that happiness in his eyes until he was lying in his casket. In that same old interview, DMX talked about how Diddy would rip off his artists and steal their publishing rights. I never saw Biggie smile until after he passed and a video surfaced. That smile brought a whole different light to his face, something hard to explain. I'm good with words, but describing what a real smile does to a person is tough because you don't just smile with your mouth, you smile with your eyes. A genuine smile can be seen even if someone's mouth is covered. Take the LOX, for example. Even though I bought their publishing, they got signed to Bad Boy. They were a safer group, and Puff signing them was both a blessing and a curse. At first, they were happy to get signed and make money, but then Puff dressed them up, made them sing his songs, wrote lyrics for him, and took all their publishing. It was a harsh lesson. And DMX wasn't only talking about money. He also said there were people in the industry who wanted to take artists out to dinner, cozy up, just to get control of their music. I can't believe DMX wasn't talking about Diddy because the first thing that came to mind was when 50 Cent said Diddy invited him shopping. DMX even revealed how some artists slept with music executives just to move up in the game. Now that we know how Diddy operated behind the scenes, I'm almost certain the person DMX was calling out was Diddy. And DMX didn't hold back. He called him out straight up. He talked about how some new rappers were willing to do whatever it took just to get signed, stuff that had nothing to do with their music. Rumors swirled about certain artists doing favors for record label executives just to get their songs on the radio. Those same stories followed Diddy too. Looking back now, it's clear he was grooming us all along. It's like signing boy bands and girl groups just because you like one or two of them, watching to see who'll rise. But really, it's just a tax write-off to you. Meanwhile, you're searching for something else entirely. Like he was looking for my butt, Chopper's butt, everybody's. It wasn't about the music. It was like, yeah, I can get you. And then the whole thing blew up bigger than he ever expected. When Puffy was coming up, he was signing a lot of young guys. Usher. It was something he and R. Kelly figured out. If you can get these kids away from their parents, isolated and alone, then you have power over them. Once you get in, it's like, you're on us now. What are you gonna say? He could say, I have a video of me with you, and that's how they kept control. How could they ever make another record after that? You feel me? DMX had a whole song called The Industry, where he exposed just how fake and twisted it all was. He said, it's not about talent anymore. It's about playing the game. They want to control how you dress, how you act, how you talk. And if you don't fall in line, you're done. But DMX refused to fake it. He said, I'm not an industry artist, I'm an artist in the industry. And now, here we are in 2025, and everything DMX said back then is looking more like the truth than ever. He warned us about artists selling their souls, about vultures circling, about Diddy. And he wasn't the only one. You're damn right. Go to Diddy's parties. That's where people like me step in to protect each other, because nobody's stopping me when I show up. Why would anyone talk about what's really going on? Who do they turn to? Who's gonna help them? What HR department actually works at these labels? Never heard of a sexual harassment case ever being publicly acknowledged in the entertainment world. Never. Not in entertainment. Remember Tupac? He was the only one who spoke up. And look how that turned out. Guilty. That's why they do it. To make an example out of you. To remind everyone what they're willing to do to keep things the way they want. It's all intimidation. You can't go to the authorities. They're all bought and paid for. You try to get a special prosecutor, but they just reassign the case somewhere else. Instead of listening to DMX, people mocked him, called him crazy, addicted, washed up. The media tore him down relentlessly. Even when he died in 2021, they couldn't help but label him troubled instead of giving him the respect he earned. Sure, DMX had his struggles. He dealt with drug issues and legal problems, but one thing he was never accused of was harming women or children. He never faced serious allegations of predatory behavior, unlike some of the powerful figures in the industry who only kept getting richer and more famous. And here's the big problem. There's a strong chance that Diddy might walk away from all this. Let's bring in David Gallman, former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney. David, welcome. Hey Mike, good to be here. So, in week 2 of testimony, jurors heard from a dozen witnesses as prosecutors try to prove sex trafficking and racketeering. What do you expect when court resumes tomorrow? It's going to be really interesting tomorrow when Diddy's third or fourth assistant takes the stand, and she's expected to actually cooperate. This ties in with Kid Cudie's testimony last week, where he said Diddy and one of his associates bombed his Porsche years ago at his house. You have to have cooperation on that because no one can directly put Diddy there. In fact, no one can say Diddy himself did it. But if they can say Diddy or an associate of his did it, that could build a racketeering charge. Right now, Mike, nothing, and I mean nothing, is sticking to Diddy. His lawyers are making the case that his actions don't rise to the level of federal crimes. How hard is that argument to make? I think they're doing a fantastic job. Honestly, everyone, even Diddy's lawyers, has admitted he's not a good guy. There's been a lot of domestic violence reported between him and Cassie in their relationship. However, what we've heard from Cassie and other witnesses doesn't amount to the federal charges he faces right now. I won't say any of this is good, because it's all horrific, but the government needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he conspired to racketeer and sex traffic. So far, they're falling behind, and with the trial expected to last about 8 weeks, the government better pick up the pace. So, is the likely outcome that he admits to some state-level crime to avoid prison time? Yeah, I think so. You're hearing all about domestic violence, but that doesn't relate to what Diddy's charged with federally. There's a strong possibility he could walk free, maybe spending the 4th of July at home having a barbecue. But rapper 50 Cent says he plans to contact former President Donald Trump. Why? He wants to stop Trump from pardoning Diddy. This could change everything. And just recently, Trump shocked everyone during a press conference with Elon Musk. When asked about Diddy's federal trial for racketeering and sex trafficking, Trump said he would be open to pardoning him if found guilty. 50 Cent wasted no time reacting to that statement. On Instagram, 50 Cent made it very clear that he will not allow Trump to give Diddy a free pass. He spoke harshly about Trump, saying, "It's not okay. I'm going to reach out so he knows how I feel about this guy," the in-club rapper wrote. Then he posted again, "Donald doesn't take well to disrespect and doesn't forget who chooses to go against him." Last week, we saw photos of the damage to Diddy's Porsche. So now, we expect testimony from firefighters and police officers who led the investigation into that incident. Gene Deal also added even more shocking revelations to Capricorn's testimony. When Capricorn testified against Puffy on Tuesday, you were there, right? How did it look from your perspective? When Capricorn testified, it was heartfelt, not just because she was crying and sharing all the pain that Cassie and she went through. I was talking to Big because I had read his whole contract on the Yao plane, since Puff gave me the briefcase. He just handed me the briefcase and went to first class while I stayed in coach near the emergency exit. I opened it up and started reading. At the end of the contract, Big was begging for what he wanted, his publishing and marketing back. Puff's contract said they'd revisit that later. You know what I'm saying? So I'm reading this story on the plane for 6 hours, going through whatever was in that briefcase. But someone told Puff, Pac got to die, Big got to die, and Puff would not go to jail. These people were planning 25 years in advance. If Pac and Big were still alive today, come on, brother, you and I both know how strong they would have been. Since then, 50 Cent has roasted Diddy online non-stop, especially after Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura filed a shocking lawsuit, accusing him of abuse and hosting disturbing sex parties. Now 50 is working on a Netflix documentary about the sexual allegations against Diddy. Meanwhile, in court, things are heating up. One of Diddy's former assistants, testifying under the name Mia, told jurors she was sexually assaulted by him during the 8 years she worked for him, from 2009 to 2017. Another former assistant, Tashin Diddy Combs, gave emotional testimony today, claiming she was sexually abused multiple times. ABC's Rita Roy has the details. Celebrity stylist and Cassie Ventura's friend, Deontay Nash, arrived at the Manhattan courthouse today for more cross-examination by the defense team representing Sean Diddy Combs. Nash was subpoenaed to testify and detailed multiple instances of alleged violence and control he witnessed in Ventura and Combs' relationship. He testified that he often saw Ventura bruised and once witnessed Combs assaulting her. Nash told jurors that Ventura confided in him about how Combs pressured her into unwanted encounters with male producers. He also said she spent nights with Combs in hotel rooms against her will, including one time on her 29th birthday when Co-Mams allegedly told her, "I do all this for you and you can't do this one thing for me," apparently referring to her refusal to participate in a freak-off. Nash said on another occasion, Co-Mams threatened to release sex tapes of Ventura. He told the jury Ventura said she did not want to have sex with the men in those tapes, but did it because, quote, Puff wanted her to. The defense challenged Nash's memory of some incidents, including one alleged bloody event. When Nash testified that Co-Mams controlled every aspect of Ventura's appearance, the defense suggested this was a business decision rather than coercion. Co-Mams' legal team has admitted he was abusive, but claims the violence was due to drug use and jealousy, not coercion into sex. A former assistant of Co-Mams, testifying under the name Mia, told jurors about times Co-Mams allegedly forced himself sexually on her. She described working for him as exciting but chaotic and toxic, with multiple instances of alleged violence. Co-Mams has pleaded not guilty to all charges and insists all sexual encounters were consensual. Diddy's lawyer, Brian Steele, cross-examined Mia, reading old texts and social media posts where she appeared affectionate toward Co-Mams. Prosecutor Maureen Comey called the line of questioning humiliating and warned it might discourage other victims from coming forward. Interestingly, Diddy is also charged with witness tampering under the RICO case, something not widely known before. The trial. This behavior echoes allegations from Diddy's 1999 nightclub trial involving Jennifer Lopez. Back then, it was alleged that Diddy used his entourage to intimidate witnesses. One name that keeps appearing now is his bodyguard, Uncle Paul Lee, who is reportedly a co-conspirator in many of these current allegations. Now, breaking down the indictment for Diddy's current charges, it clearly lists multiple acts of tampering with witnesses, victims, or informants. This is separate from the bribery charge, which likely relates to allegations that Diddy paid hotel security $100,000